Matt and Luke's Sci-Fi Sanctuary.
The year is 3013. The galaxy is scintillating in the mellow light. Two galactic pilgrims seek out vistas in the samurai future to bring forth the unity of the cosmic shaman. Opening the door of the pantheon of mystics, the evil sorcerer wizard powers the engine of science, seeking to forever alter the sacred balance, travelling on effervescent balls of summer fire.
This week, 2001, A Space Odyssey.
In the year 2001, space exploration was not as profitable as bombing the Middle East.
What does 2001 have to do with this movie? Was it made in 1968?
Sorry, there's no response to such a dumb question. I was trying to think
It's
of a
2020
funny
now.
gag.
You're stuck in the past. It's 2020. This is the first episode we've done in 2020 for 2001 A Space Odyssey.
I mean, you can't really talk about sci-fi without covering this one. So,
No.
if anything, we're a bit late.
Yeah. Introductions. This is Matt.
This is Luke.
You've come to the...
Sci-Fi Sanctuary.
So I didn't want to overlap
So you always do your own name first. So then I do my name, so it feels like you should do the Welcome to the Sanctuary.
Yeah, but last time it was like we said it together and it sounded really lame.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Okay, let's not do that.
So anyway, yeah, this is sort of the quintessential sci-fi flick. I think Stanley Kubrick, the director's intention here was there hasn't been like a real science fiction movie, so I'm going to make that.
You're watching it and there's a lot of money on the screen in this film. Like, more so than even the Star Wars sequels.
Yeah, I was looking at a statistic on Wiki yesterday, though. It said this has about 210 effect shots. A New Hope, Star Wars, Episode 4, whatever. Star Wars has something like 333 or something. And then...
Yeah, but that's because shots in this film last for 4 minutes each.
Yeah, okay.
So.
And then Attack of the Clones is up to like 2,000. No, it was actually... No, it's Revenge of the Sith they had cited.
Okay, but let's say there is not a single effect shot in this film that looks bad.
No, they all look good.
All of the Star Wars films, even the good Star Wars films, have some which are a bit ropey.
If you're really paying attention, though, you can catch a little bit. The Panther's eyes in the beginning shines because of some front-lit projection thing. When the lady on the space airplane gets the pin, you can actually see it coming off of glass a little. But you really have to be looking for that. You have to know to look for it. Honestly, that makes you appreciate the effect more.
Yeah.
So,
well, also, I love seeing films with effects from before you know how all the effects were done.
I still don't know how half of these were done.
Yeah,
that's why they're
that's
so
what
good.
I mean. But today it's just like, oh, someone did that on a computer.
Yeah.
So, whereas I have no idea how someone... They must have built, enormous rotating sets, right?
They did.
But then there's, characters on different parts of it. So are they, is it, split screening? Is one of them just got really strong abs and they're pretending to lie down?
I think they kind of just run right in and lie when they can. Because, it was a centrifuge.
But, I mean, there are shots where in the same shot you can see one guy upside down and another guy...
Oh,
and then it rotates and shit like
right. Yeah. So, I don't know. And
it's really well done.
They did some cool stuff. That's, I guess, what we're getting into. I first saw this pretty young. We taped it off television. I saw it in, pan and scan. And then I had my mind blown again when it came out in widescreen VHS and I could see the whole thing. And then I put in my notes here, actually it was 2001, shortly after 9/11, my friend and I, we went up to New York City, and right off Times Square they were showing a restored 70 millimeter film print of this. We have to go see it. My friend hated it. he's still pissed about it a little bit. And then several years later, when I met my wife, I tried to show it to her, and she couldn't get past the monkeys. So everyone I show this film to hates it.
We talked about this a little with... Star Trek The Motion Picture, right? That it's a very slow, ponderous kind of sci-fi and you have to be in the right mood and the right kind of person. Oh. And that was nothing compared to this.
No. Although this does have the most notable jump cut ever.
Several, right?
It does have notable jump cuts, even if it's slow. But for me, I think Interstellar sort of replaced this movie for me. For getting ready for his podcast was the first time I think I've watched it since Interstellar. Because when I'm in the mood for this kind of sci-fi now, I'm going to put on Interstellar.
I feel a little more of an emotional connection to Interstellar.
How so?
In that I actually feel for the characters and stuff in that one. And it takes me on a... Whereas this one is... I love it, but it's a very sort of academic, intellectual appreciation.
Well, you're supposed to feel for Hal. He's the only human character in the movie.
No, I mean, we'll get into this later, but I feel like there is no main character in this film. The main character is humanity.
Yeah, pretty much.
Whereas Interstellar does star a couple of actual human characters you're meant to identify with.
Yeah. Although, if we really did want to put a star in here, I guess Keir Dullea. I don't know if I'm saying his name right or not, but as Dave Bowman. I mean, he's on the box of the DVD and
yeah, his segment is I think the longest, but you're like there's an hour of film before he's even on screen.
Yeah. And Douglas Rain as the voice of Hal almost counts as a star. I guess
Hal is like. I was going to say the most, but every single shot of this film is like iconic and memorable and parodied to death. So
another fun fact is Keir Dullea and Douglas Rain have never met or talked to each other. When they were doing this movie, they had someone else like just on set, apparently in a Cockney accent, talking to them, doing Hal's lines, and then they got someone in the UK to do Hal's lines, but Kubrick thought he was too emotional, so he got Douglas Rain, who had done voiceover for a Canadian documentary called The Universe several years earlier. He is Canadian. And so he did his lines in post-production. And then later, when they did 2010, the only returning ones were Douglas Rain and Keir Dullea. They did Douglas Rain in pre-production, so the two have never even met.
Wow.
But they have such iconic exchanges with each other.
But I mean, even in Wrath of Khan, Kirk and Khan never met.
Yeah, they met in Spacey.
I'm sure they did before and after, but...
Yeah, they met in Spacey. They're on the same, I mean, the actors or whatever. But yeah, I thought it was very interesting, those two. Oh, and the other Star Trek connection, recognize anyone?
I didn't, but I'm sure I will when you tell me.
Frank Poole is Gary Lockwood, who is in the second pilot for the original series. He's the guy that gains the god powers and goes nuts.
I didn't recognize that at all.
But that's him.
It's been a long time since I watched like TOS, so...
Yeah. He's very good in it. He's almost like too good, because that's where No Man Has Gone Before, and the female actress in there ended up playing like Hot Lips in the MASH movie, so she was also... Yeah, she was also of note, so...
my history of this film is basically very similar to yours. I saw it... Because my parents are big sci-fi fans, so I definitely watched it a couple times as a kid. Couldn't really get into it. And then I remember in middle school, I read all 4 of the books. I got them out from the school library. And that was around the time that I became a boring, tedious nerd. And then I watched this film several times and loved it.
Now here's a case where I haven't read the books.
Don't.
Okay.
They're good, but they explain too much.
Yeah, that's the impression I got.
Whereas the beauty of this film is that it doesn't explain anything.
I guess we do need to talk Arthur C. Clarke a little bit. This apparently was... The original idea was to have it sort of be like an anthology film, with the final bit being Arthur C. Clarke's late 40s story, The Sentinel, where they discover the monolith on the moon, which is now, like in the first third of the movie.
Yeah.
And Arthur C. Clarke lived most of his life in Sri Lanka.
Huh.
Yeah. So I saw when Kubrick started the dialogue between them, and apparently sent him a telegram being like, "Hey, I'm Kubrick." He like introduced himself for some reason, like, "I made Dr. Strangelove and Paths to Glory, and I want to work with you, but I heard you're a recluse." And the response was like, why did you hear I was a recluse?
Just because I live in a different country, that makes me a recluse. So I guess we can both identify.
But Kubrick did too. Kubrick moved to the UK, and he would not fly. He never left. All of his movies are made in the UK. Huh. This is all shot in Pinewood Studios, I believe.
That makes sense.
Except the only shot is the
Africa
bashing the bone scene where they got the sky that they'd have to stop when the planes came by or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm chock full of trivia today, man. One other thing, I mentioned not seeing this in widescreen for a long time, and this movie really needs to be seen in widescreen.
Oh, yeah.
But Kubrick's other films, there's kind of an argument, especially Full Metal Jacket and The Shining. At that point in time, he shot full frame with the idea he'd make it widescreen later, like matte, top and bottom.
Right.
But he still composed for the full frame. He didn't get a boom mic in it or anything. So some people are like, no, you should actually watch in like
Well, that
old
makes
school
sense, right?
TV Academy framing because that's how he shot it. Although his intention was to have it shown in a theater.
No, but if that's most of the picture, then you want to see the full picture, right? So,
The
makes
Full
sense.
Metal picture, yeah.
So that's the only Arthur C. Clarke I've read.
I don't think I've read any. As I've said several times, I've mainlined Asimov and Star Trek
Yeah.
novels, but
I've heard about some of his other stuff, and I do kind of want to. I've just never got around to
The
it.
Childhood's End, I understand.
That's the one I've heard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And sort of has a similar ending
Yeah,
vibe to this of, I guess,
like that's
going
ending.
to the next level
Yeah.
of evolution or whatever.
And then with Kubrick, obviously I've seen this, Shining, and a long time ago Strangelove. I think that's all I've seen of his.
Clockwork?
No,
No. Okay.
Yeah.
And no Full Metal Jacket.
nope.
Oh, okay. Eyes Wide Shut.
Need to. Nope.
Okay. Spartacus.
Oh, I've seen Spartacus.
There
I
he
didn't even
is.
know that was him.
That's him.
Oh, wow.
That's him as a studio guy.
Right.
I think maybe he was still in America when he made that.
But that was
No, I
pretty
think-
old and pretty... It's not so like... What's the word I'm looking for?
Kubricky.
Yeah, I guess.
It doesn't have that perfectionist thing.
Well,
so-
and also it's just... The plot is pretty basic and,
yeah.
you know, has goodies and baddies
It's a
and stuff.
legend, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kubrick was, like, the cinematographer was not happy working this film because he said, well, Kubrick would give me the entire setup and I just liked the thing.
Right.
Like, he was so involved in everything in here that he was kind of pissing people off.
But, paid off.
There is some trivia and things about the music, but I thought we'd save that for a little bit.
Oh, of course.
so-
Like, we've talked probably more than we ever have about the film before getting into the thing. Just want to go on one quick tangent there. You mentioned Spartacus. Are you familiar with the children's TV show Lazy Town?
I'm not.
It's the one with Sportacus.
Ooh, he plays sports, does he?
I guess. He's just a fit guy who is a big crap superhero. But they occasionally do live shows, right? And my dream was to get a whole bunch of people to buy tickets all around the stadium. And when he first appeared, we would stand up in the audience and go, "No! I am Sportacus!"
That'd be fun. Well, let
But
me
alas,
get,
I think one of the main guys from that died recently, so not to be.
put a
R.I.P.
downer on things. Anyway, we got to get you somber because we're going to tell you the plot now, I guess.
Engage.
The dawn of man. In the distant past, the monkey forebearers of humans beat the living tar out of each other. A strange black singing monolith suddenly appears to one of these groups. One of the primates dares to touch it and gains the knowledge to beat the tar out of the other tribes with bone weapons. Giant jump cut, and those bones have evolved to nuclear weapons satellites. Among these orbiting marvels, Dr. Heywood Floyd is on the way to the moon and quite tight-lipped about why. He becomes chattier once he reaches the Clavius base, located on the moon's surface. A strange black monolith has been found nearby, excavated from under the surface of the moon. It seems it had been buried there 4 million years prior. Floyd and his team eat some sandwiches, pose for some tourist photos with the monolith, and then get their ears blasted out by a screeching sound emanating from the monolith. Jupiter mission, 18 months later. The spaceship Discovery is on its way to the gas giant Jupiter. 3 of its crew were put into hibernation before the flight, which is unusual. Dr. Frank Poole and Dr. Dave Bowman are awake and manning the mission with the assistance of the HAL 9000 supercomputer. Amidst the mind-crushing boredom of the space voyage, HAL detects that an integral part of their communications array is about to fail. The astronauts retrieve it through EVA, but find nothing wrong with the component. They are concerned about Hal's mistake and have a candid, secret conversation about Hal in a pod. Secret except for one of Hal's optic sensors reading their lips through the front window. Intermission. Poole and Bowman consult with Mission Control and decide to put the component back and see if it really does fail. While on the second EVA, though, Hal cuts Poole's oxygen supply, killing him. Bowman gets into a second pod, hurrying enough to neglect bringing his helmet. While he retrieves Poole's body, Hal shuts off life support for the 3 hibernating crewmates. He also won't open the pod bay doors for Dave, who cannot EVA without his helmet and re-enters the Discovery through a daring decompression maneuver. The first thing he does is don a helmet and disconnect Hal. This triggers a video revealing the mission's true meaning. It turns out the ear-piercing blast from the monolith on the moon was in fact a transmission aimed at Jupiter, and Discovery is to look into that. Jupiter, and beyond the infinite. Arriving into the vicinity of Jupiter, Bowman takes the last pod and pilots it towards another black monolith, floating in space. Bowman finally encounters the monolith one more time as a very elderly man in a Victorian-styled space Holiday Inn and becomes a space baby or something.
Falling apart at any moment. Just doing my Keith Moon impression. Could dial 322 for a skunk and bones. To live through interesting times again. Visions of Gaza flourishing in green. Faces of kings and mountainside scene.
We both assumed the other one would do the intro.
Yeah.
So, weird thing. That is probably the longest film we've covered yet. But your intro is pretty short.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of time spent on very small amounts of specific action.
Yeah, I think the first 28 minutes of this movie have no dialogue. The last 23, not counting the ending credits, have no dialogue. And the dialogue that is in the movie, you could pretty much fit on like a single note card.
It's pretty sparse, yeah. I mean, we ragged on the holiday special for having 20 minutes of monkey noises at the start.
Yeah, but they were just hanging around the house as like a sitcom. This at least has like some epic things going on.
Oh, yeah. Clearly joking.
Yeah. While we're triviating, when at the beginning in Africa, they just filmed a bunch of photographs.
Oh, for real?
It's not second unit or anything. They filmed photographs.
Of course.
And then when you have okay, I had to say monkey forebears, but yes, we know they're not monkeys. They are apes.
Yeah. Australopithecus or something like that.
They were supposed to be a little less hairy, but that would have required the actors basically running around naked, and then you wouldn't have a G rating anymore.
Yeah.
And how did this get a G rating? I mean, it has a few dams, a few hells. Like 4 people get murdered. Oh, 5 if we count the early ape. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not like explicitly gory or anything, right? And like with the swearing, I'm sure they just sort of... The censors probably dozed off and didn't notice.
Damn hell, who cares? The murders are pretty cold. It has quite a bit of existential dread.
That's the main thing I want to talk about, right? These aliens, to me, are way more terrifying than Alien.
You never see them.
Right, but I mean... I feel like films recently have forgotten how scary space and aliens can be. Just unknowable, immense, powerful things, right? Like Lovecraftian space is terrifying, but these days aliens, like, they show up and we can kill them with our guns, and maybe there's a bit of a battle and they're slightly more advanced, but...
This is an omnipotent force. Like,
Yeah.
it's creepier in Q, because at least you get to talk to Q in Star Trek.
Right, yeah, Q, his power is immense, but his goals are pretty human, right? He's just there to fuck around. Right?
Yeah.
I think the closest Star Trek gets is maybe the probe in Voyage Home.
Yeah. The monolith seems... I mean, a little more benign. The murderous thing here is the apes and how.
It's not scary because it's evil or villainous. It's scary because it's unknowable, right?
Yeah.
But even the probe in Star Trek, it wasn't deliberately attacking Earth, right? It was trying to communicate and was just too powerful.
True.
And the whales weren't responding.
And I believe the sequel gets a little more intimidating.
The book?
Or the movie. Both?
Sequel. Oh, sorry, I thought you meant the sequel to Star Trek 4.
Oh, no, sequel to 2001 being 2010.
I have not seen the film of 2010.
We'll get to that. You've read the book, I've seen the movie.
Yeah, there you go.
John Lithgow's pretty hip in it.
Yeah. Was that Kubrick?
No. Kubrick doesn't make sequels.
That's what I mean. That's why I've not
That was the only sequel to a Kubrick film until last year when
Dr.
they
Sleep.
made Dr. Sleep, yes, which I haven't seen.
Excuse me for a second with last year, because I forgot that we're like 4 days into January.
They actually were intending to put some kind of alien into this movie for quite some time. They spoke with Carl Sagan for advice, who said, well, you shouldn't have like a humanoid-looking alien. You should have it like something completely different, or you just shouldn't show it. So after a premiere, it's like, oh, I'm glad you took my advice. That's why Jaws works too, right? They couldn't get the shark to work, so you barely see
it. Yeah.
That's why Alien is the scariest. You barely see the alien in Alien.
Yeah. It's why most Doctor Who villains are scariest in their first appearance. The first time you don't see it much. But then once you've seen it, and every time they bring it back for an episode, it's in the screen way too much.
Yeah, I mean, now the Daleks are like, yay, it's the Daleks!
Yeah, you're excited to get a Dalek episode, but, kids were hiding behind the sofa back in the 60s, or like in 2005 when we first got one back.
Yeah, there's still a few Doctor Who's out there that'll do that.
Well, like the Angels, right, is the recent one. That first Angels episode scared the shit out of everyone.
Yeah.
And now you see them move and stuff, and they're just another alien to destroy.
I think I only saw it up to the second one. Because there's one with Tennant, there's one with Matt Smith, right?
Yeah, I think
and those are the first two.
Yeah.
Those are only two I've seen then. Maybe not. Have I seen the Tennant one? I don't know. Why am I talking about
the Tennant one is the one where he's barely in it, right? And it's...
Yeah. I think I haven't seen the
Don't
Tennant
blink, that shit.
Yeah, I think I haven't seen the Tennant one.
Oh, really?
And so I saw the second one only. Why am I talking about this? 2001.
Yeah.
But yeah, not seeing... I mean, we see the monolith, which is... here's a few... a lot of people now are like, oh, that's your iPhone, right?
Right.
The other fun thing about the monolith, pulling out my iPhone for a visual demonstration on an audio podcast. Here's your monolith.
Okay.
You're watching the movie through the monolith if you turn it horizontally.
Yeah.
You could look at it that way. They had a thought of maybe having the monolith have images, like showing the apes how to build the weapons.
Right.
Although touching it and gaining the knowledge is way cooler.
Yeah. The monolith is great because it is just a fucking monolith, right?
It's a god, isn't it?
Yeah, and the music with it as well.
Yeah.
Scream. Basically, the music is just shrieking. But it's effective.
Is now the time to do the music a bit? That's a notable part of this film.
It's probably the most notable.
Yeah. The score. There was a score written by Alex North. I think he did Spartacus.
Okay, right.
And he wrote the first half and then went to Kubrick and he was like, well, the second half's not really going to need music. But it seems Kubrick was always kind of thinking he was just going to put the classical stuff in. So Alex's North score was scrapped. He used it for a few later ones, and I think there's been a few recordings of his 2001 score, and it's fine, but it's not this one, which is fantastic. We have the two Strausses. That confused the hell out of me as a kid, because the opening theme is Richard Strauss, the bad boy of late 19th century opera, whereas the waltzes are Joseph Strauss, about 80 years earlier and having no relation.
Oh, what?
So it's confusing. The other big...
But who is, like, the one we're talking about now, the atonal...
Yeah, that's Ligeti.
Right.
Giorgi Ligeti, I'm not quite sure how to say his name. He didn't know they were using his music in this. Huh. He found out by seeing a screening in Prague. He actually did a lawsuit because obviously the music's awesome here, so that wasn't the problem, but they, at the end in the Victorian Holiday Inn, there's that is a piece called Adventures, and they cut it, and he wasn't happy about that, so that's how he decided to go after him.
Okay. I remember when Godzilla, the 2014 film, came out, the first trailer they showed was, the parachute scene where they're jumping down.
Yeah.
It was that scene, basically, with this music.
With the Ligeti atonal stuff.
With that, and like all you can hear is that and the breathing, like the space scenes in this.
Yeah.
And that's why everyone thought, oh, this film might be legit. This might be good. And then it was not. So watching this again just made me angry about that Godzilla film all over again.
Yeah, when they're first on the ship, they have the very depressing string quartet music as they're just going around doing their duties. Yeah. What if it had been like it would seem so
like the Jetsons, right? Like
really.
Like it's
that's just.
I was thinking like I kind of want to try those just like 4 different coloured pastes that they have for dinner.
Well, that oh, that didn't look good.
Yeah, but you want to try it.
And that's just, I mean, that's how important music is to a film. Another Kubrick one would be The Shining with like just that awesome dark score.
Right.
And you can watch the cut where they turn into a romantic comedy on the internet. You've seen that? Yeah?
Yeah.
It's a gonna be together, family. And it changes it. So you could do that here pretty easily.
Well, especially when, for long portions of the film, there's no other sound.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, this is one of the few space films where space actually is silent, except for the breathing, done by Kubrick because he's a maniacal control freak. That's his breathing you're hearing every time.
But it's very effective.
So, yeah, anyway, that's him the whole time.
Again, but by making it huge and silent, it makes space scary.
Yes.
Like it should be, right?
Yes, space will kill you real quick.
Yeah, like, Dr. McCoy's whole thing.
When they go to the moon, so obviously we already talked about the effects being awesome. The moon itself, this was done 2 years before the moon landing, maybe using props from this, but the two things that were very different in the actual moon landing is none of them walk with the gait you have to walk with on the moon because it's got 1/6 gravity. They didn't know that when they made this. So
yeah. No one had tried walking at lower gravity, right?
But and that would have made perfect sense with the astronauts going around and taking tourist photos around the monolith. But how funny would it have been if they were walking like that in the conference room on Clavia Space too?
Kind of should have been, right?
Exactly, that would have been amazing. So,
but then they did do the woman who's walking with the stick-on shoes.
The Velcro, yeah.
And she did that really well. That sort of like walking as if she's
That's
barely
another
attached.
revolving set.
No, at that point I don't think it was.
No, the camera's fixed and it's a moving tube.
The first one where she comes and picks up the pen?
Oh, not with the pen, I'm sorry. When she's moving, going into the control room.
Yeah, I just mean when he's asleep. But yeah, that's all just her physical acting.
Oh, right.
Creates the illusion that she's walking.
Well, I'm sure Kubrick would have made them walk like that if he knew. But it was 67 when they were 66, 67 when they were filming, so he didn't know that.
Yeah.
Also, the surface of the moon, while looking pretty accurate, is the mountains don't look quite right because they hadn't even sent a probe yet to the surface. So,
right.
It looks very good, but the mountains are still a little kind of 50s sci-fi looking rather than what we actually see on the moon.
Well, because there's no like tectonic action on the moon, so it doesn't really have this kind of mountains. It's all craterous.
Might be hollow like a bell. When they crash things, it vibrates like a bell.
Not to go back to Doctor Who again, but there's a Matt Smith episode. No, it's a Peter Capaldi episode. The moon is an egg, and it hatches and a dragon comes out.
Oh, anyway, the egg part might be on target. The dragon might be a little off, but...
That's, one of the real insane ones.
Well, the whole idea that the Earth is not hollow comes from the Cavendish experiment. You know what this is?
No.
That is where people simply decide, okay, rocks falling from space have an iron core and rock outside. Therefore, the Earth must have an iron core and rock outside. That's all we're basing that on.
I'm sure there's been a lot of other experiments.
No, everyone just says Cavendish experiment. They go back to that. That is still the main one because we've only gone, 20 kilometers boring into the Earth. So the fact is, nobody knows what's in there.
Well, it is hollow because that's where Godzilla and everyone lives.
Exactly, yeah. But anyway, just that is pretty much an assumption based on not particularly solid
science. I knew with this film this is what we were going to be getting ourselves into. But Matt's already said that A, the Earth is hollow, and B, the moon landings were faked. What else have you got
I just gave you the 2 notes that the moon landing is not faked because you didn't get it right here. As far as the Earth being hollow, that's still up for debate. Oh. One more. This is not even trying to tell you the moon landing is fake, but Keir Dullea and Neil Armstrong look awfully similar.
Oh, that's just the square-jawed American hero, right?
I guess, but they look awfully similar. It's just weird.
I can't picture Neil Armstrong's face that easily.
You got a phone.
I can picture Buzz Aldrin.
He looks grumpier. No,
but just because he does more appearances and stuff, right?
Just think of Dave Bowman. You have Neil Armstrong.
Oh yeah, I'm not arguing with your saying he looks. I'm just saying when I close my eyes, I can very easily picture Buzz. I can't picture Neil. Although my hero is always going to be Michael Collins.
Because he stayed in the ship?
Yeah, like, what a fucking... To be part of that mission but be the guy who doesn't get to go on the moon.
Yeah, but
did he get to go eventually?
No.
He never walked on the moon?
The first man in space, American in space, excuse me, Alan Shepard, he did get a moon mission.
Huh.
Who else got a... They didn't send...
There was like 6 or so in the end, right?
I want to say 10?
Ah.
Let's see, 11, 12, 13 didn't make it, 14, 15, 16 I think was... 16 or 17 met the Soviets, so maybe 10 to the moon.
Okay.
And they didn't send a scientist until the last trip.
Right, but that's because doing it was difficult enough on its own.
Yeah,
right?
they needed
So
to get people, but yeah, the
pilots.
Was it Schiff? I'm not quite sure. I might be getting the name wrong. Yeah, the last one actually did send a proper like doctoral geologist. But that's the other thing. It's Dr. Dave Moman and Dr. Frank Poole and all those guys under are also doctors.
Yeah.
Everyone on the Discovery is scientists. Are scientists.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
So for me, there are two very important things which have come in the wake of 2001: A Space Odyssey. The two masterpieces. There's Space Oddity by David Bowie.
Oh, yeah.
Great track. Wouldn't exist without that pun.
Hey, I know you got the second one, but have you heard he was originally part of a trio, Bowie?
Ah.
And he only sang Major Tom's parts. Ground Control is a different guy.
Ah, I don't think
So
I've heard
it's like Ground Control to Major. They actually just released one on a Bowie box, but yeah, it was supposed to actually be a conversation between two singers. The other guy quit, and well, we got a perfect song. To be honest, but
and then of course the other one is Homer Simpson floating through space, eating the potato chips.
Oh, that's fantastic! And I thought you were just going to say Interstellar there. What are the actual successors to this? Contact.
Well, I mean,
no, I'm intellectually.
Intellectually, okay, yeah. Contact is a big one, and Interstellar. I think recently Arrival, although I've not seen that yet.
I felt that was more of a Close Encounters.
Okay.
Here, maybe we'll watch
even
that
Close
sometime.
Encounters a bit.
A bit, but I felt much more Close Encounters with Arrival, but it's like Close Encounters with all that Technicolor sucked out.
Okay.
Which is why, honestly, it wasn't my favorite movie.
Yeah, but I've heard that it has some interesting ideas. So
It does. I can see where you'd like it. Again, like everyone I try and show
Like
this
it, but
movie
not
to
love.
hates it.
Right.
Yeah? So,
Yeah.
I like it. So it's different cups of tea for different strokes and different folks.
Okay, well, I mean, a lot of sci-fi does there were ancient aliens who influenced the development of human culture, right?
Stargate, but I wouldn't call that a 2001
No,
successor.
but 2001, I think, is what brought that idea into the mainstream consciousness.
About the
I'm
same,
not saying it created it, but I'm saying it made it very mainstream.
about the same time as this movie, Eric von Däniken, he's a writer. Mm-hmm. He's a researcher, right?
Right.
But he wrote Chariots of the Gods.
Yeah.
He wrote it about the same time. Now, Stargate, that's all like the Anunnaki sort of stuff, right?
Yeah.
I feel like Stargate takes from that strain and not so much the 2001 strain.
Oh, yeah, if you're trying to present it as a serious idea, then yeah, it's the Chariots of the Gods and the, History Channel Ancient Aliens Maniacs.
Right.
But I think just as a pop culture idea, the concept became popular because of this film.
Yeah.
And Stargate obviously is a big one. Halo and Mass Effect both really lean into that as well.
Into what? The
Ancient Aliens.
Okay, I was about to say, because they don't
precursors.
feel like 2001.
No, but just this idea, I think 2001 introduced. Motion picture.
I was about to say, the 70s have a lot. When we started the Sci-Fi Sanctuary, my first idea was 70s Sci-Fi Sanctuary. The theme song kind of betrays that, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, let's do more. And I think that's a good idea. But I was thinking of all these, 2001 Afterburner movies,
Well, again, that's something I'm interested in watching a lot of.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember the names of any of these films, but I definitely watched a lot of them on TV as a kid.
Well, I mentioned in our Star Trek motion picture episode that Douglas Trumbull did the effects for that, and a lot of people did the motion picture, of course, but Douglas Trumbull was the supervisor, and he's also the supervisor in this film.
Okay.
Another one, and Close Encounters.
Okay.
It just
all films who have space stuff that still looks excellent.
And
So
there's one other I don't know if you know this movie. Do you know Silent Running?
yes, that's one of the ones I was trying to remember.
Also Douglas Trumbull.
Right, that's one we need to put on the list.
Yeah.
I had Silent Running and Logan's Run mixed up in my head.
Yeah.
So when I got to Logan's Run and saw the shit robot,
Oh yeah, they got the cool
Silent Running robots.
They got the cool robots. Also, especially when I get to the esoteric and hermetic weird crap, which Kubrick very likely was into. They were supposed to be going to Saturn.
Right.
But they couldn't recreate the rings at this time. So Silent Running was Douglas Trumbull, who directed that movie, actually. Being like, hey, I can make the rings now.
Oh, interesting.
But, yeah, there's all this, you know...
but that's weird, because in the books, the fact that it's Jupiter actually does become important. Because later they turn Jupiter into a second star and make it a binary solar system.
That's the trippy thing about Saturn. That there's esoteric myth or whatever saying that Saturn used to be a sun.
Huh.
You know, as a light giver. It's Lucifer. Saturn's Lucifer. Weird things that actually do exist is there's this bizarre storm at its North Pole, I think.
Right.
It's shaped like a hexagon.
Oh, I've seen that. Yeah.
That is weird.
Yeah, Saturn is a weird planet.
The rings themselves are weird.
Yeah, and Saturn and Jupiter swap moons sometimes, which is crazy.
Yeah, you were talking about do they? I didn't know that.
I say it. I always say that like it's super regular. It's like something that's happened once or something. But yeah, I think they have swapped moons.
Okay. But where was I? Saturn, Lucifer. Oh, yes, the Luke and Matt. I don't even know whose name is first on our podcast. For our bingo card, Asimov. One of the things when they finally do find the original planet, which is our system, the thing is, you're going to find this planet with giant rings in it. That's not even possible. So when they find the system, they find Saturn. This actually is that system because the rings are so weird in that case. But,
oh yeah, I guess when you watch sci-fi, they often put rings on planets because it's a cool look.
it does look cool.
But do we know that there are other planets with them,
No,
or is it super duper rare?
Neptune and Uranus have rings. I mean, thin rings. That's the normal kind of ring, not those insane, like, record
Have you know
spinning.
that my anus has a very thick ring? It's not being worn down.
I used to teach environmental education. Kids would come to our outdoor center for, like, 2 or 3 days, and we'd do an astronomy lesson at night. And when we were doing the planets, I'd always just, like, you know, these are, like, 11, 12, 13-year-olds, so I'd always talk about the planet. Uranus! And then no one would ever laugh about it again.
Yeah, that's a good move. Make it uncool to laugh at Uranus.
Now, the other time when the kids really did laugh at me, have I ever told you this story?
The tree one?
Yeah.
Yeah, you love telling this story.
I'm going to tell this story, yeah.
I don't think you've told it on this podcast.
I haven't.
So knock yourself out.
We did sketches for the kids, you know, teaching about environment. We're supposed to be teaching about erosion. So we have this whole costume of closet of costumes. So I have this foam tree, stick your head in the middle of the pine tree, and we're supposed to be like Forrest Gump, right? I'm sitting on the bench, like, talking to people about erosion. So I'm doing that voice, and I'm like, where's my erosion going? Where's my erosion? Anyway, when I sit down on this bench, the trunk of the tree pops up out of my crotch. The other side's foam, so it looks very fleshy colored. And I'm like, these kids really think this sketch is funny. And afterwards, I'm sitting at the computer in the office, and the supervisor, she wasn't director, or whatever. She goes, you know what that looked like? I said, no, what it looked like. You know why they're laughing? Oh God. So yeah.
Yeah. See, I have the opposite story from when I did that demonstration at work the other day, and I made the.
I wasn't there the other day.
Well, this was like a couple of weeks ago. You were there.
Okay.
When I made the adult video joke.
Oh, right.
and like, a couple of my colleagues like,
sorry, I should just throw in, this was a practice demo. There were
with
no
other
kids.
adults,
No
no
kids.
real children.
No real children. Okay, go ahead.
But yeah, so I was doing them, and it's like, yesterday my father watched DVDs. I was like, oh, did you watch them with him? No. I was like, oh, they must have been adult DVDs. Which got a knowing smirk from all the, like, very fluent English speakers, but went over the heads of all of our bosses.
Anyway, one of our other
But
co-hosts...
then our colleague was like, surely he didn't do it deliberately. He wouldn't do that deliberately in a demo. And then everyone else in the office just, like, exchanged the knowing look, like, of course he fucking did it deliberately. I'm like, yeah, of course I did. It was a great joke, and I stand by the decision.
Okay, let's see. We did some influences. We did some design. We do have to get to the AI issue in this. Do you wanna get into that?
Yeah, let's talk about how.
Time moves backwards, I get older and younger, and I see. I don't always like the things I observe there to be. I don't claim to be the truth.
Is this the first movie with like a real AI?
I'm not sure. Well, I mean, Star Trek has the computer.
But it doesn't seem... Hal seems kind of sentient. Also, this film did start filming in 65, so...
Yeah.
It took them like 2 years to make this, which makes sense.
Yeah, you can tell, right?
When we get to Forbidden Planet, we'll see, but I don't know if that has an AI. I think it just has a computer.
Yeah.
I think
Well, I mean, films have done robots which kind of had an AI. But the AI is just this presence around you.
But not this functional thing like controlling like
That's what I
life
mean.
support and all of that. You know, I mean, they're living in the smart home, aren't they?
Yeah. So, let's just do the obvious thing first. Hal's name, right? That's like one letter up from
I knew you were
IBM.
saying that. That Arthur C. Clarke claims that is coincidence. Although he was like he would change the name if he knew that.
Right.
It means heuristic algorithm computer. I'm not quite sure what heuristic means.
Right.
I'm not sure. Yeah. Anyway, he claimed that he was like, really? That's amazing.
But if we are talking about that as a coincidence, there's another company which is called HAL Laboratories, which did deliberately do it as the one letter down from IBM.
Yeah.
They're the company that made Kirby.
IBM has a lot of product placement here too.
Yeah.
You see the monitors? It's often IBM underneath.
Yeah. Well, there's basically those big iPads that they've got.
Oh, I was about to say. I always thought I was like, why is it that when I was watching as a kid, I was like, why is
Yeah, I couldn't work out if
screwed
it's
up.
a strange angle. Is it?
Yeah, and now you watch it now, it's like, oh, those are iPads.
Yeah, it's so weird to see.
Yeah. I also heard that Samsung had their Apple's lawsuit with Samsung.
Right.
And Samsung's defense, actually, part of it was that you could see the tablets in this movie long before Apple made their iPads.
Yeah, lots of sci-fi has essentially tablets.
Yeah, yeah.
Next Gen Picard has like tablets.
Deep Space Nine, they actually start using them in like normal ways. There's one where maybe it's Bashir on Deep Space Nine is trying to tell Dax to go in. He kind of types a message discreetly on his pad and shows it to her. Like, oh, that's how people actually use these things now, which is amazing. And again, they're sitting there, watching BBC on their iPads.
Yeah, using them for video calls and stuff. Exactly like a real.
I did just call them iPads again. That kind of puts a hole in Samsung's theory. But we are recording this on
I've
iPad.
never owned an iPad. To me, they are tablets. Like my tablet is Kindle.
Yeah. I've always. I'm not an Apple geek. It's just my wife got an iPad, and then it became mine, and then I got an iPhone.
Once you're in the infrastructure, it's hard to get out, right?
Yeah,
I have to rebuy all my apps.
Exactly. I bought all the apps. I don't want out now. On
That's how they get you, man.
yeah, on laptops.
They make you part of the system.
On laptops, I'm a Windows guy. I want to get under the hood.
Yeah.
But with mobile stuff, I do like Apple, where it just works. Hal is Apple. You can't really screw with him, can you? Unless you really
you have to unplug them.
Yeah, you got to crawl in and do a sequence, right? You got to know what you have to go to an authorized HAL dealer.
No, and again, that's another scene which every sci-fi synth has ripped off, right? The AI dying and the voice goes slow.
Oh, a bicycle built for two actually is the first synthesized song done by a computer.
Huh.
About 10 years before that. You can find a recording, I've heard it, but it's that was actually the first song sung by a computer, so that's why they chose it here to be the last song sung by Hal, well, at least until they made a sequel, but hey, Kubrick wasn't into that.
Well, that's a different HAL anyway, right? That's or is it? I can't remember.
No, it's the same Hal. They go back to...
Oh, okay.
This is the movie. I don't know about the book, but in the movie they find the original Discovery, which is now encrusted in space rust.
Yeah.
They turn Hal back on, and the whole problem was they explain he goes nuts in this film because he had the conflicting orders of following his crew's orders and keeping the mission secret.
Right.
And that's why he basically went psychotic. So he becomes like, Happy Hal in 2010, whatever we're going to call it.
Although, you mentioned in your notes, and I picked up on this when I was watching it as well, Dave and Frank both treat Hal very differently.
Oh yeah, Frank's a bastard, where Dave adds please and...
Yeah, it's we talked about it with Star Wars as well, like how you treat the droids, right? It tells you about a person.
Yeah.
They don't know for sure whether Hal has feelings or not, but Dave's just, I'll say please, it's the nice thing to do. Whereas Frank is just like, do this, do that.
Pull me in.
You're a machine.
At the same time, though, look, I wonder how... I guess I don't use voice-activated stuff, so I don't talk to my computers, but...
Right.
I feel like when I have them... I've typed please in before, let's put it that way.
Well, if I had one of the Alexa things that does my house... Sorry for anyone listening who I just set off your Amazon device. I probably would be throwing in pleases and stuff.
Alexa,
send $100 to Luke Summerhayes' Patreon.
see if that works.
But if the only time I use voice activation is just literally to Google a phrase. So if I put please in there, it's going to Google the word please.
Oh yeah, you don't do it at Google. But Google's a bastard anyway. Google's going to destroy our...
Oh, is it first, Google or Apple?
Yeah. I
How much
go
of your
Google.
data they got?
I think Apple, most of their nasty space dust comes from the fact that Steve Jobs was an asshole.
Well, their business is in hardware mostly, right? So
Yeah.
Google their business is in data.
Yeah, Google's...
They don't even sell you products. They just take your information and give you the product.
What was it? Google created their own AI and it became, racist within 24 hours? So, hey, Hal is doing a lot better than that.
It's almost like it was created by 500 white guys who had no concept of...
Oh, the book and the movie do have discrepancies on when... I think Kubrick... In the movie, they say 1992, Hal was turned on. And Clark was like, no, Hal should be more like a child. So his date was 97. So in 97, somebody hosted a Hal birthday event and invited Kubrick and Arthur C. Clarke. Clarke showed up by satellite because it was in Sri Lanka. Kubrick was like, no, it's too late. That was 1992.
Now that's some pettiness. I like that.
Yeah, it's like your leg showed up 5 years ago. Excuse me, my math was off for simple math.
Well, let's talk about this then. Obviously, we've covered a lot of sci-fi where the date it's set has passed, right?
Yeah.
This one isn't far off in terms of the tech.
Yeah, just the space. I mean, we probably had the space.
We could do this. We just, like I said at the start, for some reason they decided it's more profitable to keep fighting wars than to do space stuff, right?
Yeah. I mentioned IBM as the product placement, and the place this is aged worst is that Pan Am.
Yeah.
What else? Pan Am. Whirlpool.
The BBC still exists.
But it's BBC 12 here, which is kind of funny.
Yeah. They're still only up to 3, I think.
Yeah. It's like Back to the Future 2 with Jaws 15.
Yeah.
Is 15 right? You can email me if I'm wrong on that.
I remember it's Jaws 10, but I don't know if
you might be right. I don't remember. It's been a while since I've watched Back to the Future.
We'll be doing those ones soon because they're running in the theaters here. So
last time I tried to put it on, I think my daughter was 7 at the time. Yeah. My wife was like, no, she's not quite old enough for it. I was like, I saw when I was 6. Well, the first one at least, but it's got all the weird incest stuff. I guess that's where it's getting there.
Yes. We'll talk about that later.
That's for a different time, because this movie doesn't have that.
Nope. This movie barely has females at all.
Okay, there's the Russian scientist. Is she it?
There's the flight attendant.
Oh, she didn't talk, though, does she?
There's a daughter.
Oh, right. That would be a female.
Maybe some of the apes. You don't know.
We don't know. Hey,
I know. If this film came out today, there's no way the whole crew would have been 5 white men.
The creator of How, though, is listed as Dr. Chandra.
Huh.
Again, Arthur C. Clarke Sri Lanka connection.
Yeah.
Another Chandra, there's Chandra Wick Ramses. He's a real scientist.
Okay.
Who was friends with Arthur C. Clarke and is one of the guys that's pushing the panspermia idea.
Okay.
Which this movie would be down with. That's disregard the sperm part. That's the idea that asteroids would carry biological material, DNA, and affect planets when they land.
Although, my problem with that has always been that it still has to start somewhere.
Oh yeah, it has to start somewhere.
I've always thought panspermia doesn't really explain anything. It just
says it
passes the buck.
It just says it passes the buck. Says it didn't start here.
There's crap like 2000s movie like Mission to Mars, one of those, where at the end they find out that Mars like inseminated Earth. But it's like, okay, but where did Mars life come from? This doesn't. But they act like that's the explanation of life. Yeah, but Mars still had to get life.
Well, that's a fun new wrinkle, right?
Yeah, like I don't dislike it as a thing, but it feels kind of okay, fine, next. Like
they hadn't found the face on Mars when they did this movie. You think that would have worked? Like they find the face on Mars and send the Discovery there?
it's less interesting than the monolith.
Because Mars is too close too.
Well, yeah, but also just like the face is too human.
Yeah, and then it changes with the light because you just see faces. I mean, hey, there could be a face there that someone made. I don't know, but you know, when the light changes, it doesn't look quite as much like a face.
Right. Whereas there's no mistaking just a perfect rectangle.
Yeah, I don't believe in anything. I mean, man, there could be things on Mars. There could not be things on Mars. I'm happy to think about it either way.
Well, like my thing with the moon landings. Maybe you could convince me it's not real. Maybe you convince me it was real. I find it more comforting to believe it happened.
It's more comforting to believe it happened, but it's very fascinating to look at reasons it didn't. But again, I don't believe it did. I don't believe it didn't. I assume it probably did, but I'm not going to believe it, right? Because I don't need to.
But man, I wish Northrop Grumman would just build rockets to send people to space again instead of blow up Iranian children. No, but I mean, the US government spends $750 billion on the military for wars which you can't explain to me how those benefit anyone other than maybe getting oil.
They benefit the people that want to make some money.
Exactly, but they could make that money building spaceships.
Yeah, that's why we like SpaceX. So, but we don't. Elon Musk is now weird, right? At the same time, is he weird because he's building spaceships and
he's like weird and good and bad at the same. I really can't put my finger on it. It's definitely egotistical.
Yeah, but
and he could do more good with his money rather than trying to build Iron Man inventions to make him feel like he's got a big dick.
Well, again, Steve Jobs was egotistical, but hey, I like my iPad here.
He is like trying to do some good. Like he recently did that thing. He released all the Tesla patents.
I've heard that 60% of Tesla's writings are still under wraps.
Huh.
Oh, and do you know who took?
So I mean, Tesla was in the car.
Oh, the car. I'm talking about Tesla, the Tesla dude. Okay,
no,
sorry.
We're still just on Elon Musk. Like, I think his heart is in the right place, but he's got like an insane billionaire white guy idea of what is good and bad, and he could just be helping, with poverty and stuff.
Well, we're going a
constantly
nutsoid tangent.
Trying to invent subways.
Do you know what happened to Tesla's materials? When he died, he was basically destitute, almost destitute, living in a New York hotel.
They were bought by...
Not bought. Okay. Someone came in because he was a scientist of note, right?
Yeah.
And it was Donald Trump's great uncle, apparently, was the agent that took Tesla's materials. That's why Trump is a time traveler. That's how he made it happen. Because I lost what all this shit happened.
Pure idiocy.
I like to think he's time traveling and just trying to,
No. He's just a big dumb idiot who appeals to other big dumb idiots.
I know you're right, but it's just fun to think he's a time traveling weirdo.
I don't know. I still think it would be really funny if it turns out that actually Trump was right all along and he has defeated the evil vampire paedophile ring, but no, he's just a bad cunt.
It's just, the whole thing now, getting political, it's just crime boss against crime boss.
Yeah.
You got one set of assholes butting heads against another set of assholes.
That's why we need a Batman to come in and just bust all their heads.
Next week, Batman. That's real, by the way, but which one?
So I've just been looking at your notes, and you've got here, we did not get the best child actor.
This is on the video phone, right?
Yeah, he's talking to his daughter.
Yeah.
Is she even an actor? It almost feels like she's reading some script that's hanging up behind the camera.
That is Vivian Kubrick.
Yeah, that explains it.
She has an English accent because Kubrick moved to the UK in 1961.
Right.
So she grew up with the accent. The other interesting thing is we know that's one of the first things filmed for this because she's clearly younger than 5. She's born 1960, so
right.
It was 1965. So that was one of the first things they shot.
Huh.
But yes, he probably should have had casting get into that one.
But the weird thing is, because the joke would be like, oh yeah, he don't work with children, but Kubrick has done very good work with children because The Shining.
Yeah,
It's like has a very prominent role for a child actor, and he does really well.
well, he was
And, like, the
too,
creepy
he was
twins
too
as well.
busy doing like mental terrorism with Shelley Duvall.
Oh yeah.
Mental Terror, Stanley Kubrick.
But like, yeah, it is an art to get children to fucking act good. That's why Spielberg is known for it, because he can deal with children.
And animal. Well, they aren't animals. Oh, that's the other thing. Now, really, they didn't have an Academy Award for makeup until 1981 for American Werewolf in London.
Right.
But the joke here was Planet of the Apes won that because no one could tell these were not monkeys or babes or whatever.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there were points where I wasn't sure, like when it closed up on their mouth and stuff.
Nah, that was good makeup.
Yeah, it's really good. I assume that was a real cheetah though.
Yeah, that was a real cheetah.
Like, was there just a guy in there hoping the cheetah didn't bite through the costume?
I don't know. You could bring in.
I guess if it was like somewhat tame, it's basically just playing with him like a dog does.
Yeah, maybe it was a baby cheetah and like a tiny actor.
It's just a normal house cat and a child.
That'd be fun. Does this film, 2001, still hold up in the year 2020? Numerology and chronology would say no.
Every single shot of this film is still iconic and perfect. So yes. But as we've discussed, like, in terms of pacing and like modern filmmaking, this isn't a film where I can just say to, any of my friends, my girlfriend, whatever, oh, let's stick a film on, let's watch this film.
That didn't work for me twice, at least.
This is a film you sit down and you're like, okay, this is like going to an orchestra, going to a play. Like,
I played an orchestra, though.
Right, but that's not like a...
I got you.
You just bang it on because you fancy it thing. That's I'm sitting down for some culture.
You want to know how I put this film on for the most part in the past 15, 20 years?
Go on.
I go directly to Jupiter and Beyond the Infinite, and at that moment I start Pink Floyd's Echoes. You've heard about Pink Floyd and Dark Side of the Moon?
Yeah.
When I was student teaching, the guy ahead of me decided one day he was just going to do Dark Side of the Moon and The Wizard of Oz. For every class because he's lazy. Doesn't work. However, if you start Echoes, Pink Floyd's Echoes, it's on their album Metal. When the title card Jupiter and the Infinite comes up, works perfectly. When the thematic images changes, the music changes. It ends right when the space baby fades out. The music in the movie, of course, is fantastic, but it's kind of fun to do with Pink Floyd too.
Huh. I'm gonna have to give that a go now.
Yeah, there's an M83 song that intentionally did that, and it's a really long title. I apologize, I forgot the name, but look up M83 2001. You'll probably come across that too.
Although that also just sounds like a bunch of codes, so who knows what you'll get.
M83
M83 2001 into Google.
It's going to send you to like the Pentagon database.
It's just going to be some freaking microphone equipment. But yeah, this film is still phenomenal.
It's still phenomenal, but I said earlier that in a way, Interstellar has sort of like scratched that itch for me in the past few years.
Like I said, I can put Interstellar on as just I want a film. Whereas this for me is not that regularly.
This is a
sit
ritual.
Down and make a night of it.
This is a ceremony. I mean, Kubrick probably meant this movie as some weird Masonic ritual.
Well, like if this movie was any less good than it is, it would be really pretentious.
It is really pretentious.
Right,
it
but
just works.
It's pretentious, but it's also correct. It is that good, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's like people who are really full of themselves. You get away with it if you actually can back it up, right?
Yeah.
And this is a film which is full of itself, but it backs it up.
Well, I guess that's Kubrick's genius. He's always completely full of himself, and it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I've never gotten through Barry Lyndon, I will admit that.
Okay. Well, like I said, I've not seen as much Kubrick as you.
Full Metal Jacket, I usually just watch the first half.
That's the one where the first half is like boot camp and then it goes to the war,
Vincent D'Onofrio. What's the drill sergeant's name? Anyway,
I know who you mean, but yeah. I haven't seen the
Lermy
film.
Garney. I'm probably getting the right syllables, but mixing them up.
Having like a stroke, it sounds like.
Anyway, he was so good. But after that boot camp, you turn off. 2001, the first for me, the hurdle's getting through the monkeys.
It wasn't this time, but I haven't seen it in like 15 years, right? But yeah, once you got to the space stuff, I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, because I'm cool.
Well, no, once the monolith appeared. But before that, there was just monkeys being monkeys.
No, even the monolith and monkeys, I get bored by it. But I don't get bored by, Strauss in space.
Yeah.
Probably because of nothing else. I can sit there and imagine what my part to play is, because I have a part to play in that. But, yeah. But no, it's cool. And Homer Simpson, yes. Strauss and Homer's also fantastic. So, this movie...
Another good reference I just remembered in Zoolander, when at the end he smashes open the computer to find the files.
It's in the computer!
Oh! I can't remember if they do use that music, but I kind of remember.
They don't. It's
no, but there is a different scene where they do.
That was...
I remember Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson acting like monkeys to...
There is something 2001 here. I don't think it's that scene, but that's someone to quote.
Yeah.
Which is why you say we don't usually do comedies, because you just end up quoting them. Not that... Well, hey, you could like... pass out with Sci-Fi if you want. It's got the mind control. That's a stretch. It does have Bowie too. Get back to us in 3 years. Maybe we'll do some Zoolander. This is Sci-Fi, people.
Maybe in 3 years I'll finally have watched Zoolander 2. Probably not though. I've not heard great things.
Anchorman 2 is better.
Yeah,
but,
I've not seen that yet.
Okay, there's one reason to watch Zoolander 2.
In both of those cases, I would rather just watch the original again.
No, there's two reasons to watch Zoolander 2, and it's seeing Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson's characters when they first show up in the movies.
Right.
I don't want to spoil the joke too hard, but when they when they...
You are having a stroke. Shit.
When they both first show up, like their image is so ridiculous.
Okay.
Like... It's as good as any jokes in Zoolander. Otherwise, it's a shadow.
Right.
But Anchorman 2, man, that's a good one.
Okay, I will give it a go.
Yeah. Anyway, I guess we're wrapping up on 2001 because I'm just talking about Zoolander.
Yeah, we're talking
now.
about utterly unrelated things now.
So, let's plug away.
Okay, well, yeah, you can follow this show on Twitter at MLSFS Please do, follow us there, like and subscribe on... No, that's YouTube. What do you do on iTunes? Rate and review. 5 stars only. If
I get unlazy, I might... Maybe this will be on YouTube. We'll see.
Yeah, I still haven't put all my Pokemon episodes on YouTube, and they're like 5 minutes long.
I might be starting with King Kong for that one. We'll see.
Right.
Hey, I might be lying by the time you hear this.
But yeah, obviously if you do that, then I'll share it and stuff. That should probably be a conversation we have off mic.
Yeah.
But yeah, make sure you rate and review, follow us, and then...
You want to talk about the Pokemon podcast?
Oh, I was actually going to talk about this one a little bit more.
Hey, okay.
Coming up soon, we've got... So for the month of February, we're going to be doing films which start with F. The first of those will be...
It's going to be called Fuck You February.
Yeah, it definitely is now. But the first one of those will be Fifth Element, our first request from a listener. So seriously, if you are out there listening and there's a sci-fi film you want to hear us talk about, get in touch. We've not really got like a strict rule set or schedule, so... If we can convince ourselves it's sci-fi, we'll cover it.
You once said if we got, like, mental emanations from someone, too. So that's where Flash Gordon comes from. I didn't get a message, but I got, like, a vibration to do that one.
Huh, okay. So yeah, either...
You can try that, too, if you want.
You can tweet at us, MLSFS You can go on Facebook, search for Matt and Luke Sci-Fi Sanctuary.
Or look for us in the astral plane and tell us.
I was going to say, or just close your eyes at night, center yourself... and reach out with your feelings, and you'll find us.
And if you did that and told me Flash Gordon, definitely get back to us by Twitter or something.
Yeah. Please confirm. Or just send Matt an even stronger emanation of your name, and we'll message you.
That'd be cool.
Matt, close your eyes right now. What's the first name that comes to you?
Gary Lockwood, because he's in this movie. Shit. He's dead, too, I think.
Okay, well, I'm not going to try and tweet Gary Lockwood, then.
William Norwood.
Is that just the name that came to you?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm searching for him on Twitter.
Okay, well, I see now I'm going to plug myself. Usually Luke is nice enough to do this, but if you go to rovingsagemedia.bandcamp.com, you've been hearing the music between the bits. I'm going to throw a bit at the end. And most of it is free. There's 2 new albums released on December 28th. They are $2.80, going with that 28 numerology. If you'd like to support there, that's awesome. But, listen to some other stuff for free. I still need to put up the album that actually has our theme song on it, but we'll do that someday.
You haven't done that yet? I thought that was on the one you just did.
No. No, that has Fuck the Power.
Okay.
No,
but our theme song is not publicly available as a song.
It is that's on damagetape.bandcamp.com, and I just haven't moved it yet. Hey, if you really want our theme song, it's damagetape.bandcamp.com, and I recently did have someone buy albums from there, so nice. I guess you go there too if you want. Anyway, William Norbit, what do you get?
I got William Norwich, and I'm currently messaging him. Hey dude, did you psychically message my pal that you want to hear a podcast about Flash Gordon?
You've got to get back to the response on that. Anyway, this has been Matt.
He's an author.
Oh, he's an author. He's a listener, I'm sure. Hello,
New York
William.
City.
We'll see. Anyway, this has been Matt.
This has been Luke.
And you must
get the fuck out of our sci-fi sanctuary.
Open the sanctuary doors, Hal.
Unless you're William Norwich, he's allowed in our sci-fi sanctuary because he psychically messaged Matt.
Next week, Batman, The Dark Knight returns. Not rises, returns.
Ignite to see I'm on a road. The skies are cool down, pillars left and right. So in this place I am preaching a new freedom, proclaims the Aquarian choir. Usher in the utopian age, from fifth dimensional satire. A new freedom, yeah, a new freedom. I was a touch bitter and felt too sensitive. That summer's what I thought. Love, evil, care, the pain. See a new freedom, proclaims the Aquarian choir. Usher in the utopian age, from fifth dimensional satire. A new freedom, yeah, a new freedom. The Prince of Rogues, he roams, but some say he's just lost. Caught up, taught again and thought the hell is really wrong. Yeah, a new freedom, proclaims the Aquarian choir. Usher in the utopian age, from fifth dimensional satire. A new freedom, yeah, a new freedom. A new freedom, yeah, a new freedom. Chariots that pull the sun after the cosmic divergence. interdimensional satire. A new freedom. Yeah, a new freedom. A new freedom. Yeah, a new freedom. A new freedom. Yeah, a new freedom. Yeah, a new freedom, freedom, freedom. Yeah, a new freedom, freedom, freedom. A new freedom. A new freedom.
There's a lot. When I was looking up the names of each section, because I just couldn't quite remember exactly what they were, I came on a page. It was about fonts.
Right.
Like, talking about, like, apparently there's lots of different fonts with, like, tweaks made. So it got to all the main tiles. It also started to get to things that were on, like, the computer screens and things.
Yeah. Cunt!
Yeah, CNT.
we both had that thought. What? Control, maybe?
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, every time it just flashed up, big letters, CNT. So is that how calling Dave a cunt?
Probably, because you know, since Dave is nice to Hal's like, oh, I'll play mind games with him.
Yep. Yeah, every single time. Cunt, cunt, cunt.